us, we agree as a Senate that this motion be passed. But Mr. Speaker, after that, the process that happens is that the clerk of the Senate would ordinarily then write to the relevant department of the government to inform them that there is a decision by the Senate, there is a resolution by the Senate that this and this be done as far as a motion is concerned. So, Mr. Speaker, there are various motions that we have passed, and I have also moved a motion here in this House, in this session, and we've been able to pass it. And the clerk has followed up with the necessary action. But, Mr. Speaker, the attitude of the civil service, the attitude of the executive has been and continues to be that if it is a motion that is passed by the House, it is not compulsory to follow it. It's a persuasion, maybe a strong persuasion. So, Mr. Speaker, what this bill seeks to change is that attitude. Mr. Speaker, I've had the fortune of serving in the executive, and I know from experience what I'm talking about. That when Parliament has passed a law and it has been assented by the President, we take it very seriously. We used to take it very seriously, and that attitude continues. But, Mr. Speaker, when Parliament passes a motion, we merely note it and say that it's a strong persuasion from the floor of the House, but it has no compulsion. It has no binding power. So, Mr. Speaker, this bill seeks to change by introducing a law that will make it now compulsory for members of the executive and generally civil service that, Mr. Speaker, when a resolution of the House is passed here, then it must be implemented. Mr. Speaker, we have created a mechanism under this bill of timely feedback on the resolutions that are passed by this House. Mr. Speaker, the clerk of the Senate is now required, when we make this to be law, when we pass this to be law, to write to the relevant government department within a time limit of 7 days to inform them that the House has passed this resolution and it is upon these government officers to execute that resolution. Mr. Speaker, this bill, it therefore creates a timely feedback mechanisms for the resolution of Parliament or of the Senate when we pass it here. Mr. Speaker, then what happens? The person, the office of the clerk, will identify somebody in this bill who is named as a responsible officer. That responsible officer will be required to take action on the resolution that has been passed by this Senate within 60 days. Mr. Speaker, you can see that this bill is good because it is enhancing the role of the Senate. It is enhancing what Senate can do. It is also creating consequences for those who will fail to carry out and execute the resolutions of the House through motions. Mr. Speaker, what is the consequence of a responsible officer who fails to effect the resolutions? Mr. Speaker, normally what has been happening is that we have been condemning, we have been taking a dim light view of those people who are supposed to give effect to resolutions of this House. But, Mr. Speaker, if it is a motion and there are no consequences, what happens is beyond the condemnations that we make, it just lapses into no effect. So, Mr. Speaker, This bill is trying to correct that, is trying to correct and to therefore make